Okay, and it looks like everyone has made it into the main room. So again, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us today. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this fourth and final professional development session associated with your participation in the Developing Future Special Educators Grant. I think you know by now, but my name is Jeff Matheson, and today I'm joined by several of my patent colleagues, and we're excited to spend this hour together with you. As you know, APR stands for Attract, Prepare, and Retain. And we have three main things that we're trying to achieve through Attract, Prepare, and Retain. First, it is to attract those skilled, compassionate, and diverse individuals to the varied career options within the field of special education. Then we want to make sure that we are preparing special education personnel by building capacity through targeted professional development, technical assistance, and supports. And finally, to retain special education personnel long-term through the collective efforts of federal, state, and local entities. Here's a quick version of our agenda for today. It's rather straightforward. We do want to kick things off this morning with an opportunity for you to share the many highlights, the celebrations, and the success stories that your grant teams have experienced over the last year and a half. We will do this in breakout rooms so that everyone has a chance to both share their story as well as to hear and learn from others. And what better way to build our own toolbox than to hear from other implementation testimonials. So we'll do that here in just a moment. Then I'll spend a few more moments just reminding you of those grant requirements and those next steps that will guide us through the end of this grant year. And then finally, and the biggest portion of our morning together, we're going to spend some time sharing some new resources with you that you can take back and share with the students who are participating within the experiential learning opportunities. These are career exploration fact sheets. They have been an ongoing priority of the APR initiative. And as I said, they're designed to be shared with your middle and high school and college-age students so that they are more informed about the numerous career paths in the field of special education. We do want to start with this proud pause. And again, this is an opportunity for us to pause and reflect and to share and to celebrate. We're going to break into some breakout rooms here in just a moment. But before we do that, I just want to set the stage for you. During the breakout room, if you could consider using those bullets at the top of the page to guide your conversations. What are your success stories? Can you share a highlight of your work with those in your room? Have you found a creative way to use your grant funds to support your goals and vision for attracting future special educators? What are your visions for the future, for future implementation and sustaining this work beyond the life of the grant? Maybe even consider, what are the students involved in the ELOs currently doing to support students with disabilities or to learn about working with students with disabilities? So we'll take roughly 7 or 8 minutes in a breakout room to have these conversations. Then we'll come back together. And if you've heard anything really amazing that you want to share with the entire group, we'll give a moment for that as well. I do want to draw some special attention, and I'm going to move a screen over here so that you can see it. Hopefully that is coming through now, but I want to draw some special attention to one of our grantees, the East Stroudsburg University, Northampton Community College and Intermediate Unit 20 Consortium. They have given us, or have prepared, a video that you can see starting to show here. We're not going to have time to show that video today, but we are going to put the link to that video in the chat box for you. This is also found on our APR repository. And this was a great byproduct of this team's work in this grant, and a video that they've created to highlight the career of special education and to share that virtually with anyone who would follow this link. So please take a moment when you have time to see the great work done by this team. And at this time, Christine is going to help us to navigate into some breakout rooms. And like I said, about 7 or 8 minutes for you to share, and then we'll come back to the big room. And if there's anything that you'd like to share with the entire group, we'll provide a moment to do so. All right, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you had a chance within your breakout rooms to share some of those success stories. There is no pressure here, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if you heard something truly outstanding in your breakout room that you'd like to share, either on behalf of your own site or from another site that was speaking, I'm just going to give you a moment right now if you'd like to unmute and share something with the entire group. Oh, I don't believe that there's nothing to share.
I'll share if you want.
Thank you. Thanks.
We've just, first of all, thank you for the acknowledgement of that video. That one is celebrating coming up on 50 years of special ed. So that's generic for anybody to use. We have another one that IU20 is producing with Pocono Mountain as well as East Stroudsburg that is really career based and really has gone across all stakeholders in how to recruit, support, develop educators. So that's not quite done, but that's coming out. We were able to present on the national level with Patan and our partners in Pittsburgh at the National Council of Administrators Special Ed conference. And we've been picked up at to present in Anaheim in March at the what used to be National PDS, which is now school and university partnerships of how those stakeholder groups should come together. So that's kind of there. But we've also been able to, I talked about NARS, really capitalize on groups that were underserved, which is not only diverse groups, but also around paraprofessionals. And what we found was the number of paraprofessionals that wanted to be teachers that had bachelor's degrees is unbelievable. 3 roadblocks to their work was they could not quit their job and give up benefits. They could not go to school more than 1 night a week, and they could not pay for their classes. And we've eliminated those 3. The intermediate unit 20 has been exceptional and now paying for coursework, 12 credits a year for their paraprofessionals, which is unheard of. We restructured our post-bac program so they only go 1 night a week. So we took certain combinations of classes and made them quarter classes. So they'll get 6 credits, but they only go half of the semester in order to do that. And then when they need a full semester class, those are embedded into the summer where they can't, it wouldn't be wise or rigorous if we took certain classes and condensed them. They just didn't fit that model. So that's been really great for them. And then it led to opening up the same program undergraduate for paras that had associate's degrees that wanted to finish. And finally, our university has a different thing going on with pathways. And so we've now partnered with 14 school districts, and our grants have been really exceptionally integrated into the big picture. So where we're dealing with multiple districts, we've been able to really target special ed. So big event, April 10th, Aaron Grewal, Freedom Writers, lots of things going on there. We'll send you that information. Big event this summer, multi-day that we'll be putting out across the state. So just really neat things of kids coming. I listened in our group about Kathy, they're offering classes at the high school. Our community college is now offering their courses at the high school. So and dual enrollment has really swelled too. So lots of neat things happening. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jenna, and for your work not only in attracting those future special educators, but looking at barriers and working to remove those barriers. So kudos to you and your team. Anybody else before we move on? And I think that was appropriate wait time, so I'm going to go ahead and advance the slide. So we're going to move into our second agenda item, and this is just a few quick housekeeping reminders. As we come into these final months of your involvement with this grant, we want to make sure that you have the following items on your list of things to do. So if you look at the screen here, we began the year with several items on our list of things to do. At this time, most of these items have been checked off of your list. However, some of you are still maybe missing an item or two. So if we look there at the top, here's where we should be through this year. We started the year somewhere between August and October with a check-in meeting with your patent consultant. Hopefully you have already done that. That was to get the year started on the right foot. On October 11th, we held our grant workshop number 3. That was on the topic of universal design for learning. Many of you were able to attend that live. I know many more were able to watch the recording. Whether you were there live or watched the recording, we do need to have a completed session verification form from you. So if you have not yet done that, it is imperative to you having access to your grant funds. I'm going to ask Christine to put some of those links for session 3 into the chat box right now, just in case you haven't had a chance to access the recording, view the slides, and complete that session verification form. We had our second check-in meetings with our patent points of contact somewhere between November and January. And again, I know most of you have completed those check-in meetings, but if you haven't had that second check-in meeting yet, please make that a priority, that you're touching base and keeping tabs on the progress of your work. On February 1st, you likely received an email from our business manager, Jennifer Emmons. That was regarding the third disbursement of grant funds. At that point in time, February 1st, you have access to all of your year 1 balances. So any money that was left over from last year, plus half of this year's money, as long as you have been completing those grant requirements. Now, I hate to say this, but if you submit for reimbursement tomorrow for things through February 1st, and you haven't completed that October 11th session verification form, we're not going to release those funds. You need to be making sure that you are completing these grant requirements before that reimbursement is available to you. Obviously, we're sitting here today for grant workshop number 4. And again, at the end of this session, we will have a session verification form for you to complete. And if you have any colleagues who are not able to be with us today, please urge them to watch the video link, and they will have access to all the materials as well. So what's left? Well, you can see sometime between March and May, there should be one more grant check-in with your patent point of contact. And then that final disbursement of grant funds, you'll probably start seeing those emails come out from Jen Emmons around the middle of June, maybe around June 20th. But there will be no grant funds, no grant disbursement available after June 30th. We want to fulfill all these requirements and disperse funds no later than, I'm sorry, I think I said January, June 30th. So June 30th is that final cutoff. When we're talking about the funding, again, that payment for will come in by June 30th, as long as you have completed all of those grant requirements. That is attending all 4 of the PD sessions over the past 2 years. Your participation in year 1 and year 2 check-in meetings, that was 3 a year with your patent point of contact. And then the one I really want to remind you about, the last bullet on this slide, is the completion of your pre and post implementation surveys. Students who are participating in the ELOs need to complete a pre-implementation survey before the ELO begins and a post-implementation survey at the conclusion of that ELO. If there is a student who is involved in 3 ELOs, then they do need to do 3 pre-implementation and post-implementation surveys. Again, Christine is putting those survey links into the chat box for you. We are monitoring those. I know so many of them have been completed already, and we are starting to see some of those post-implementation surveys come in at this point. So thank you for your diligence to that. We are going to also put for you here in just a moment all of the contact information that you would need for Jennifer Emmons into the chat box, because if you have any funding questions, she is the expert. She is the go-to for anything related to your grant funds. And so I thank Christine in advance. I know she's putting lots of links for us into the chat box right now, and she will drop Jen Emmons' contact for you into the chat box in just a moment. I want to put a quick plug in for our annual Pennsylvania Department of Education conference, which will occur February 28th, 29th, and March 1st. That will occur at the Hershey Lodge and Convention Center. It's a great conference. I know many of you have been to that before, but for those of you who maybe have not had that opportunity, it's a dynamic conference, just a myriad of special education topics. And these topics may be a great resource for you, not only just in your day-to-day work life, but as you are bringing information back to share with students involved with these ELOs. So hint, hint, if you have any grant funds and you're thinking, how am I going to spend down my funds? You might want to send some of your ELO coordinators or supervisors to this conference to bring information back to share with the kiddos involved with this work. I do highly recommend the session that we are highlighting there on the slide. That session will occur on Friday, March the 1st from 8:30 until 9:30 in the morning. And it is titled Pathways for Future Special Educators. And you can see the list there of special presenters for that particular session. Okay, we're moving into our third and final agenda item for today. And to do that, I'm going to invite Carol Good to the microphone for a moment, because what we're going to do is share with you here in a moment some career exploration fact sheets as tools that you can use. But Carol's going to help us see why these fact sheets are so important. Why do we need to get the word out about these pathways in special education? So Carol, welcome, and thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Right, the work that we're doing for APR is fully data-driven, from the use of your pre and post implementation surveys to let us know the impact of the ELOs that you're doing at the local level. Are they the career exploration? Are they extracurricular or social? What is having the biggest impact on the students who are participating in their desire to become a future special educator? So just like we'll be using that pre and post implementation survey, we use survey data that we have from our intermediate units on the vacancies that exist as of the day of November 1st each year. So in 2022, as well as in 2023, we wanted to know how many positions do you have in these different areas of special education personnel, and of those positions, how many or what percent are vacant? And as you can see on the slide, this is the statewide snapshot of the vacancies by percent that existed on November 1st. So you'll see some peaks, with hearing impaired, you might be like, whoa, how did we go from 9.4% vacants to 16? Well, when we unpack that data, it really seems to be an issue in the central region where more vacancies exist in that region specific. So as we look at the data, we want to use this an opportunity to say to students, consider these different positions because there are lots of opportunities. And so we prioritized career exploration fact sheets in the area of deaf, hard of hearing this year. So you're going to hear from Jennifer Craig shortly, as well as some things around special education teacher, behavior specialist, and speech language therapist. So if you're interested in knowing more about this data, certainly please reach out to Jeff and we will be able to get some of that data to you. Jeff, I'll turn this back over to you.
My name is Jennifer Craig. I'm one of the patent consultants out of the West office, and I am on the initiative for deaf, hard of hearing. And I get the pleasure of introducing the three flyers for careers that focus on children that are deaf and hard of hearing. So the first career spotlight is the educational audiologist. And this is my favorite because that's what I am in my past life. Some really great things about being an educational audiologist, I think, is there are so many different career paths. So you go to an undergrad and a graduate program and come out with a doctorate degree. Now that's your entry level position, isn't it? Doctorate. But it gives you the opportunity to work in a clinic, ear, nose, and throat practice, schools. So there's a lot of different career paths. You could also be in sales as a hearing assistive technology salesperson and work with schools and clinics to provide that information to the audiologists that are there that are fitting the equipment for the kids. Some other great things about being an educational audiologist is you make an impact every day. That is the one thing I loved about my job is when I helped a student, I could see what I did made a difference right on the spot usually. You're providing great information for families. It's usually the audiologist is one of the first points of contact when a family comes in and their baby is diagnosed as deaf or hard of hearing. So you really start from the beginning and you get to see these students go from 0 to 22 and you are part of their lives the whole time, which is great. And go on to the next one. The second one is a teacher of the deaf. In this position, again, and there's a big need for this with all three, there's a critical shortage in Pennsylvania plus across the country. So any of these fields would be great for our students to kind of take a look at and get involved in. Being a teacher of the deaf, you can either work in a classroom setting, you could work for an intermediate unit and be an itinerant teacher, you could work at a residential school for the deaf or a day school for the deaf and hard of hearing. So there's a lot of different things you can do. The teacher of the deaf is so important to be part of that IEP team to support the general education teacher, especially when our students are mainstreamed and moving throughout the day with their hearing peers. So this is another great opportunity for our students to get involved with a career that would be so fulfilling. The other thing I think about being a teacher of the deaf is you have to be really good and flexible and know a lot of different things, right? So some of our teachers of the deaf have students that use sign language, some use alternative communication devices, and some use spoken language. So you have to kind of be the master of all when you're in this profession, which is really, really awesome that you have all these opportunities to do something different every day. And again, this is a position where you're really building relationships with that team and the families, because a lot of times you might be the only teacher of the deaf in the building with that one student that has a hearing loss. And so you are the only go-to person for information. Let me go on to the next one. The educational interpreter. There's a critical, and I'm sure you all know that if you're working in schools right now, there's a critical shortage for educational interpreters. It's especially in the central region where it's rural, it's really hard to find educational interpreters. There are 4 interpretal training programs in Pennsylvania, and that is it. We're really trying to work with our ITP programs to encourage students to go into this field. We have some programs out there, and they're starting like ASL classes in high school to kind of expose our students to this field. But for an educational interpreter, again, you're working very closely with the student every day. You're working very closely with the team. You are the person who's going to provide access for language and instruction for that student. And I can't stress how important it is to work closely with your educational interpreter and have them at the table at the IEP meeting. They know the most usually about the student, right? There's a lot of relationship buildings, again, with the family and the student. And you really are the social connection sometimes for that student to their peers too. So this is another great opportunity to do something with our deaf and hard of hearing kids. And honestly, if I had the opportunity, I would have done all 3 of these jobs. I loved every piece of what I did in my past life. For the educational interpreter, you have to be qualified in the state of Pennsylvania under Chapter 14. You have to have a score of 3.5 or above to be an educational interpreter in Pennsylvania. Some neighboring states, Ohio, Maryland, do not have an EIPA minimum requirement. So it makes it even harder for us to keep our interpreters, because if they don't reach that 3.5, they can go across state lines and get a job very easily. They're very important, again, on the team. You can be a registered interpreter and be a community interpreter and work in a school, but you must have a 3.5 or higher on the EIPA to work in a school. And I think that's it for me.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks so much, Jen. And I apologize that I disappeared there for a while. I lost power and internet and terrible timing, but I am back. And Jen, thank you for highlighting those 3 wonderful careers for us. We're going to turn things over now to Christy Winsky to talk a little bit about becoming a behavior specialist.
Hi, my name is Christy Winsky. I'm a patent consultant from the Central Region, but I spent my last 20+ years as a behavior specialist. In regards to that, there are really 3 opportunities or paths you can take to become a behavior specialist. There is master's level criteria to become a behavior specialist. In the state of Pennsylvania, there is application and field work that you can be a licensed behavior specialist, or you can pursue your BCBA, your board certified behavior analyst certification through additional coursework and field work. In regards to behavior specialists across the state, in regards to positions in school buildings, I think it's something that's coming up more frequently just because of the needs of the students and the increase in students that are diagnosed with behavioral disorders. In regards to providing support in districts as a behavior specialist, again, you're working on a team, so it's not a job that's isolated. You're working with teams at different levels in regards to, if you're looking at the 3 tiers in the MTSS framework, you're really working at each level to really help develop behavior change for individuals or for groups. There is opportunities outside of the educational setting for behavior specialists. There are opportunities for working within homes of individuals and in community settings. There are opportunities in school entities, private, public, and cyber, for behavior specialists to help facilitate change for individuals. There is opportunities for private practice and community-based agencies that can also be contracted to work within school buildings. As far as what a day in the life of a behavior specialist looks like, every day is different. I think we all can see that walking into a building or a classroom, it depends every day what's going on within those classrooms. Being a behavior specialist is very data driven, making sure that you are collecting and looking at different types of data is super important, and able to have your ability to analytically think through that information to determine interventions that are the most effective for kiddos. Again, just speaking to all 3 tiers, you're working at each level to identify evidence-based practices for implementation to help see change with behaviors. I think the most important and I think the most gratifying aspect of the job is that you are really planning for behavior change for improving lives of individuals or groups. Again, the behavior science or applied behavior analysis is really focused on those scientific established principles and aiming to enhance functioning and quality of life for the individuals across varying contexts. For more information, there are 2 websites that are listed for information in regards to how you can become a licensed behavior specialist in the state of Pennsylvania, and also looking at that additional coursework to become a board certified behavior analysis.
Thank you, Christy. And we're going to invite Susan Ferris, please, to spotlight the career of a special education teacher.
Morning, everyone. I am a consultant out of the Patton West office, and I started my career as a special education teacher, and this is probably the career that you know the most about. But I didn't start that way. I started out as a general education teacher. In my first year of teaching, I had a student with cerebral palsy in my classroom, and I was to give him vocabulary words a week ahead of time. And that was my introduction to special education. I really didn't have any coursework or very little undergraduate work to prepare me. But I started in general ed, and then I moved to South Carolina actually as a special to find a job, and I ended up in special ed, and that I've been there since. So it doesn't mean you have to start in special ed to begin there. You can take many different paths to get there. This is our spotlight. The part I like to really look at is that you certainly set the tone for the day as a special education teacher. And not only are you impacting the students, but you're impacting the families as well. I think an important part is that you are a team leader, whether you're leading the IEP meeting, or whether you have a team of paraprofessionals you're working with, or whether you're leading other types of teams, could even be data team meetings and looking at the IEP, that you really set the tone for that day and for that student. When I was working in South Carolina, just to mention, I think one of the important aspects of working in Pennsylvania is that we really have a high rate of pay compared to other states you work in. So that's another great selling point for getting a job here in Pennsylvania. States in the South don't pay nearly as well as they do here in Pennsylvania, and the retirement here is also great, which is another great selling point. I also listed some free websites. PAeducator.net and Indeed are websites that I've used personally that help me find jobs in Pennsylvania. The one tip I would give students is if you are using those websites and if you come to some kind of roadblock, because they are a little bit tedious to complete, to just keep persevering and keep moving through. There's also additional resources on those websites that you can reach out to if you're having some trouble filling those out. And the other tidbit of information I would like to share is that it's also important to help you get a job is to really be dual majored. If you major in whether it's elementary education and special ed or math or English, sometimes it's a little bit easier to land a job in special education as well. But the rest of the brochure, you can certainly read yourself. And as I said, most of you are already familiar with the role of a special ed teacher, but that's what I wanted to highlight. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Sue. And last but certainly not least, we invite Beth Christopher to share with us about the career of a speech language pathologist.
Hi, everyone. I am a speech language pathologist and an educational consultant, and you'll see a trend in all of our slides that variety is our world, but speech language pathology really does solidify variety. As a speech language pathologist, I have worked, and I'm going to be a little crass for a second, birth to earth. So I have worked with babies who come straight out and need help immediately, and individuals on the last couple of days of their lives, and helping families through that process. It is a wonderful place to be a speech pathologist. You can be there on some of the best days when someone finds their voice for the first time, and some of the worst days in holding hands as somebody transitions with dementia or things like that. And we're here to sell it for the schools, but one of the things I will tell you is most individuals who go into speech pathology weren't thinking special ed teacher right away. So as we look at recruiting individuals into your programs to explore more, I encourage you to look past the kids that just want to be teachers. Many of us really went into it because we like technology, and I was coding before coding was cool, to give students voices 20 years ago. We work with swallowing and feeding disorders in schools and in outside environments. So if you have someone who might be interested in nursing or a medical field, they may be more inclined to latch on to speech language pathology as a special ed service. So the variety is settings. We can, like I said, we can work in hospitals, outpatient, school systems, EI programs across the way. And when you're in a school for a speech language pathologist, every day really truly is different. Every hour is different. I could be working with an individual with articulation impairment one moment, and helping a child find their voice the next moment, and then helping at lunchtime to make sure somebody meets their nutritional needs in the classroom. And then I might be going to a homebound student who has Lyme disease to help them access their voice through a communication device. So it is wonderfully diverse and amazing every single day. Each session, each workday, each client that you work with, or student or patient. We are always a chronically under staffed field, just because, well, you have one field that goes birth to earth. So of course there's going to be a lot of openings. Right now we're projected to grow by 29% by 2030. And in the schools, we are growing rapidly as we identify more of our involvement in literacy development and how language growth and development impacts literacy as we look at assistive technology and all the creative ways to do that. So if you have students who really like to think outside of the box, speech pathology is really for those students. we have openings all through Pennsylvania, especially in the schools, and we are listed as one of the 100 best jobs. It is a STEAM field, and one of the reasons I love it is it's STEAM with medicine, STEAM with teaching, STEAM with everything. So if you have anyone who's maybe leaning towards, I want to do something in sciences, but I don't know what, but I kind of like teaching and I kind of like, come on up. This is what we do. We don't fit in any box and we love it. So if you have any students who want to learn more, please have them shadow speech language pathologists. We are a very helpful field. So most of the time we'll say, come on over, contact your districts guidance part, obviously you guys know that part, your local hospital and your communication sciences department at your local university. While we may be small in numbers in your school district, we are not small in numbers overall. So we have 21 programs in Pennsylvania. So you can access, we are one of the biggest and we want to keep our people. We educate around 600 speech language pathologists every year. We want to keep them in Pennsylvania. So making those connections is always really helpful. We also have the American Speech Language Hearing Association, which is also, I'll give a plug for audiology, where you'll find some information on audiology as well. And we have a student organization called NISHLA that is very active once individuals get into college, but a lot of times they'll make connections as well. So if you have any questions, we 5 of us on our field, on our team, who would love to talk about, we're all very passionate about the field of speech, and we're all very, very passionate about school-based speech therapy. So thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Beth. And one thing that you can't see as we went through those 6 career spotlights, each one of those fact sheets has a section called Voices in the Field. And that Voices in the Field is a direct video link from, as you guessed, a voice in the field, someone who holds that position and is talking authentically about their role in that position. So as you use these fact sheets with your students, please draw their attention, especially to that portion. I think it's so powerful to hear about the job from people who are actually doing that job in real time. So we hope that you dig into these career fact sheets. Again, I posted that link and Christine has reposted it. All of those fact sheets, the 6 created this year, plus the 5 that were created last year, a total of 11, are now available on our APR repository at the high school toolkit link. Use those with your students, share those with your guidance office, make them available at career fairs and job fairs and anything else that you have going on. We think that these are going to be extra helpful in helping our students pinpoint which direction they want to go in this vast field of special education. And thank you for whoever took over the slides. If we can go to the next one. We have come to the end of this morning's session. I do want to thank you so much for being here and learning with us through all 4 of our workshops over the past 2 years. I want to remind you of the session verification form that we would like you to complete to verify your attendance today. And again, if you know of peers, colleagues who were not able to be with us today, please let them know that we will be sending out the video recording link, and we would ask that they watch this recording and likewise complete the session verification form. We wish you well in these final months of your school year. We look forward to our final check-in visits with you through the months of March and between March and May. And please reach out to your patent points of contact with questions, with support that you might need, with guidance that might be beneficial to rounding out your involvement with this work. And if you have grant-related funding questions, please again reach out to Jennifer Emmons. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. Have a wonderful day.